big language. I like this the first one.
It's bad when you have to have a disclaimer when you're getting into a podcast, so only certain audiences watch.
That's not that bad. That's okay.
Hey, all right.
What's going on, guys?
Hello, everybody.
I'm still drinking out of my bladder of wine.
Your bloody, your Francia.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, as you can see, Hugh's not here with us today because he was like, "Oh, I got to drive from California to Virginia. I'm tired." So all I heard was, "A, I'm a pussy and I'm not gonna make it." So
What a bitch.
yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, like, "Oh, I'm gonna drive across the country." Ooh, well.
Yeah, I was talking to him the other day. He was like, "This is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be." And I'm
Yeah,
like,
no, seriously. I'm actually fucking like I feel bad for him. I feel really
wouldn't
bad
do
for
it.
him. Yeah,
I
no,
know.
fuck
That
that.
was his decision.
Alone. Like it's just him and
Yeah,
him,
it was
it's just
his
him and Guinness.
decision. And Guinness doesn't say anything.
Yeah. Guinness is a
Are
dog.
you sure?
So it's just
Well, dogs can still say something.
Maybe about 10 minutes into a ride, it'll start talking. Hey, make sure you message Jenny and let her know we're live.
I already did.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
She
So
and I are in a Minecraft group together now.
are you
Wow.
fucking serious?
No,
Wow,
I'm not even joking.
That's a new kind of special.
We're making castles.
Oh, okay. So how about this weather?
It's kind of cold outside. It's been raining a lot.
So
Yeah.
you're making castles.
Yeah.
We're going back to that.
Yeah, I'm kind of stuck on this. That you're in a fucking special Minecraft group with Jeannie on Facebook.
No, it's on Microsoft Network.
Oh, it's like
It's
in the game.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
and you
so
guys,
you're like a legion or something together.
No.
is it a
No.
clan? Are you guys in a clan?
It's like
Are
a
you guys-
club. You got to
gamer-
patch
It's like
in.
a
gamer
club.
clan?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're in a
I'm part of the club
Minecraft.
now.
Okay, so as a grown ass adult, you're in a Minecraft club.
You got to
Okay.
patch in.
I think
Yeah,
we're
you
just
gotta
gonna
beat
let that.
somebody
Listen,
up.
I do a lot worse than that.
I think we're just gonna let that one kind of fucking sit for a while and just
Like, my 5-year-old plays Minecraft.
yeah, like
Even my teenagers are like, no.
Listen, I am single and I have no one to answer to, and my life is very sad and pathetic, and I don't go on dates. So I
well,
stay home
Meg,
and
you
I play
didn't have-
video
listen,
games. And
you
that
didn't
includes Minecraft.
You didn't have to give that whole disclaimer about you being single and all that stuff. When you
I'm
said you're
very
in a
lonely.
Minecraft club,
I need a hug.
when you said you were in a Minecraft club, that kind of summed it up for us. We we understood where that was going.
You know why you're single is because you don't have that one picture of you with the little scarf thing as your Tinder profile.
I have like pictures of me when I used to do liquor promotions. So I'm like a liquor model, and like people see that and they're like, wow, she's gorgeous. And then they see me in real life and they're like,
Oh, she's
Catfish,
just a
what the
nanny.
fuck?
She doesn't look
Yeah, they're
anything
like,
like her.
Be like, they
I
let you
like
take
show
care
up
of
like
children.
this, and they're like, your hair isn't smooth or
Yeah.
pink. I'm
What
like,
happened? Where's all the makeup?
mhm.
So, you went on a march the other day, right? Is that what happened?
Did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Meg,
so-
you got it. So yeah, Meg, the
Okay.
We
floor is
totally
yours
didn't
with this
plan
one.
this, but I just remembered. Tell me about this march.
Okay, so on Saturday, I went up to New York City because I live in New Jersey, and we did a rally for the Vanessa Gillen Law, which is an attempt to change how the government, the military, handles sexual assault cases. So right now, the military handles cases by, you know, your sapper, your SARC, your sharp person. It's somebody within that command that has that qualification to manage that person's situation that's going on.
The incident that
And
took
then
place.
they refer them to NCIS. Well, when you're in that position, more often than not, that person is friends with whoever the assaulter is, and they are biased. So how can you have this protection when you have people biased against you? So they are trying to make a new department within each branch. It's just people that that's their only job. They are just representatives of sexual assault victims. And I'm actually conducting a research investigation for one of my courses. So I'm reading a book. I don't have it with me, but I'm reading.
She was explaining this to me Sunday.
It's like it's really. I went to the gym and I was almost in tears, so I went and I started like throwing those like 20-pound balls at the wall. I was like, so, but like, so I do when I'm mad, just like roll it out a little bit. So apparently, when someone is convicted of a sexual assault in the military, it does not translate to the civilian sector. So when they are discharged, they get their DD-214. Yeah, that's how everyone gets it. You don't have to get your DD-214. You can just go and you don't have it. So when you get your DD-214, the day that you get out of the military, and if you have a sexual assault charge, you are supposed to register as a sexual offender. But if you don't get your DD-214, you don't have to register. So they won't get their DD-214 and they'll go back to their home, Arkansas, Kansas, whatever, and then they'll go back to their state and then be like, I need to get my DD-214 now. Well, the state can get you that. So they get it there, but there's no record of them being a sexual offender in their state.
Because they're not out processing through their personnel department.
There's no communication between NCIS and state and federal law enforcement agencies. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, like I do. I'm like, bullshit. I'm not surprised.
Is that crazy?
But that's.
I thought there was something.
I'm not surprised. Like that's just how it is.
But like, that's not how it should be.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
How it should be. And,
you know, like well, and then listen. By all means, I'm not comparing what I went through to what he went through. No way. But
everybody's story is different.
Yeah, but like the chief who told me, look, nobody from where you're at. He's a black guy. He said nobody from where you're at is ever going to advance in my division. And that's because I'm from a white supremacist area. So I was really pissed off about it. And one of the guys was like, "Oh, just go see the command equal opportunity officer." I was like, "Okay, sure. I guess that's what they're there for, right? I mean, they're there to help us get through this."
Yeah.
He was the command equal opportunity officer. Yeah.
So that's biased as well.
Hashtag winning.
Yeah. So needless to say, I didn't get my E4 until I left the ship. So yeah, so I get it. I understand it. I'm not comparing it, but I understand it.
So how did the event was in New York City, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How did the event itself go? Because you went from just going to the event to what?
So the other females that were there with me, obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but you guys can tell I am very outspoken about this. I don't have any qualms sharing my stories. I don't have any qualms discussing it. It is a disgusting topic. Nobody wants to talk about it. It's something that you just like, it makes your skin like itch. It makes you crawl. You're like, I don't want anything to do with that. These women had been assaulted. One woman there, her nephew had been raped while in, and he could not handle it because the command would not address the situation. He committed suicide.
Oh.
So it was, she didn't want to speak on camera. There was actually several people that were there, and I asked them, I was like, do you want to speak on camera for when I went live? And they were like, I don't. There was another woman there. She has children from her rapist. And she was the one that put it together, and she was like, can you please speak? Because I can't. When people would walk up and ask us questions, she could not do anything. She would get so anxious. She had to like stand behind me. So, and I'm very good at projecting my voice. I was A-Rock. I sang cadence. So, I'm good at projecting my voice. And I know it's really fucking stupid, but I'm good at that shit. So
were you A-Rock in boot camp?
I was.
Oh yeah.
That's how I was not even gung-ho. They made me march in a circle and sing. And they were like, wow, you have tempo. I was like, I played an instrument for 10 years. What do you think? So
nerd.
So they made me basically like a leader and also like the main speaker. So anytime somebody would come up, I would be the person saying all this stuff. And I enjoyed it. I liked it. like I want to tell people about this stuff. The only downside is that it caused so much like anxiety for me. I actually was sick the rest of the day, and yesterday was like a major recovery day for me. I pretty much did not leave my house. I did not feel good. I had a major migraine for like 2 days just from the pent up anxiety of having to just come forward and talk about this stuff. So
wow. Well, I just want to say,
is that the Intrepid?
I want to say kudos to you, because I mean, you didn't intend to lead and you stepped up to lead, and that's awesome. I'm proud of you. That's the last time I'm gonna say that to you, but that's just.
Oh, you'll probably say it more in the future.
Oh yeah. You're a nanny. I couldn't do that.
So Meg, why don't you tell everyone who we got as a guest today?
So we have a special guest, hence why I got my swag on. We have Michael Desmond here from the Travis Manion Foundation, and I'm so excited. He is the Mid-Atlantic Regional Manager, and he kind of helps navigate and put together volunteers for all of their awesome events. I did an event before, and I'm super excited to like interview him and hear what he has to say. So,
Oh,
there we go.
We're
gonna bring Justin in here too.
Yeah.
That's fine,
What's
Meg.
up,
You don't have to
Michael?
introduce me. What's
No,
up?
that's okay. We don't need to introduce you.
Cheers,
Just
everybody.
need to know.
Oh, cheers. Thank you, Michael, for coming on the show tonight, dude. I
Yeah, for
truly
sure.
appreciate it. So, and Justin, don't bitch about not getting an intro. You've been on the show so many fucking times. Fucking son of a bitch. Like, so Michael, tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll get into the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just a dude who enlisted in the Marine Corps out of Chicago. I have to say it like that. We're required to by law. And you know, I was ready to go. You know, if we want to circle all the way back, I remember seeing the towers fall, and I was just like, yep, that's what I'm doing. Going to war. And tried to drop out of school at 16. Walked up to a Marine recruiter in the lunchroom. You know how they come in and pull the pull-up bar, all that. And I was like, hey, I'm ready to drop out of school and join the war. He's like, dude, this isn't World War II. Get your diploma. And so I was like, all right, man. All right. So super motivated. Joined the pulley functions. Did those for 2 years, which could really tell you what kind of person I was in high school.
Wow. Really?
And then
you took your shirt in and wore a belt every day, didn't you?
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's specifically one of those braided leather belts. Yeah.
Yes!
Oh.
No, I'm just
Pants
kidding.
always a little too short.
Well,
No,
anytime I see someone wear one of those, I just think of like Alanis Morissette CD for some reason, and like it just doesn't.
I mean, yeah. Well, yeah. So I went in. I was intel, you know, for 5 years. I wanted to be a ground pounder, but my mom wouldn't sign a contract to be infantry, and so I tried to go around her back and sign an intel contract in the DEP, and then switch it over. But then the staff NCOIC, my recruiting station, swapped over. Because she went on maternity leave and they brought in this new gunny, and I walked in on my 18th birthday. I was like, hey, gunny, I'm ready to sign that infantry contract today. He's like, what infantry contract? I'm like, the one I was promised by the last gunny. He's like, bro, I can get anybody to go infantry. You're staying intel. And I'm like, what? And I was like, yeah, man, if you want to go open contract and see what happens, then you can try for infantry. I was like, I'm not end up in a mailroom. So I got stuck in intel, and so I did the first thing I could once I got into the fleet, and I went down to 3-1. And so I did one pump with the regiment with 1st Marines in Iraq, and then got down to 3-1, did Afghanistan, and a BLT with them after that. The only reason they even got me to sign on for the extension to go on ship, no offense, Justin, but ship life was the worst life. They promised me, they promised me I was going to go into Syria, Libya, or something like that when the Arab Spring was jumping off, and you know, but then that check came bunk again anyway. But
there's nothing glorious about being on a Navy ship. Nothing.
Oh,
I enjoyed it.
Of course you
give
did.
those folks kudos. Like to me, it was
I
like
did get like cookies brought to me.
Yeah, well, different strokes for different folks on ship, I guess.
Yeah.
But so then I got out, and then you know I had a hell of a transition. My first 2 years was wild. Started hitting my first rock bottom from there. Yeah. And then started putting the pieces back together after that while I was in school. And then really the turning point for me is I was reading an article, because you know they make you read in college and stuff. about this concept called moral injury. And then it kind of peaked to me because I got diagnosed with PTSD right when I got out of the Marine Corps. And I was just like, I'm an intel dude. Like, we don't get PTSD, right? Because like that's where I was at back then. But the moral injury stuff made sense. So I got into research with that, and then ended up working for an organization back in Illinois, Volunteers of America. They're an amazing VSO provider, do a lot of homelessness services across the country. And they gave me the opportunity to work with vets in behavioral health counseling. So I got certified as a peer support specialist, and did a bunch of work doing that, helped a few veterans back from the line when they were feeling suicidal and whatnot, got them into housing. But the problem was I was in social work, and I was like one of only like a few veterans that worked there. And when I would go around and talk to people in the community and social work and everything else, like everyone's like, oh, veterans are broken. Oh, they're so damaged. And like always like, and like, I just kept hearing like this like pity and like sympathy. And I'm like, yo, all the people you're talking to would have taken your lunch money like when they were 18, 19 years old, when they went through basic, right? And I was like, how can we focus on the strength they had and not just the fact they're stumbling right now, you know, and just remind them of that. And so when I was doing that work, it got to be so super frustrating because every day it was so much negativity. And so I just started doing the Google machine. I'm like, where can I find somebody who's doing the work that I want to do? And I was ready to just walk out of the veteran serving community because I just wanted that strength based. And I found Travis Manion Foundation. Moved my whole family from Chicago to Baltimore here to join the Mid-Atlantic region and run things here because I wanted to be a part of a place where they look at veterans as a strength in the community and be able to let them continue to serve, you know. So yeah, that's how I kind of got here, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, and the Travis. So tell us a little bit about how the Travis Manion Foundation started. Like where was it?
Words, bro.
Yeah.
Words.
Absolutely.
God damn it.
Okay, so I'm producing the show also, so I'm reading 3 comments plus going through the website. Plus, I'm the only one asking questions. So any 3 of you could step up.
Hey, hey, why don't you tell us about who was Travis Manion? What is it? How to get started? Tell us a little bit more about the foundation. I got you, Billy.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Travis Manion was a Marine first lieutenant. Went to the Naval Academy where he ended up having a pretty close relationship with one of the guys he served with, Brendan Looney. And I'll come back to that later. But long story short, you know, Brendan had some pretty badass service, and so he went forward in Iraq as a Marine lieutenant and actually, you know, stepped up real big. You know, I always give people a hard time, you know, the officers as an NCO guy, like, but his legacy really is incredible. You know, he was pulling his folks out of sniper fire outside of Fallujah when he was awarded for his heroic actions. And so, you know, his whole family was in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, where the foundation was started. And this was like back in 2007 when Travis got killed on April 29th. And they did the funeral, and then they were also sitting there like, what are we going to do? You know, like what's next now that we're putting him to rest and all this. And what they realized is that Travis had this mantra that he always spoke about. He learned at the Naval Academy, and it was, if not me, then who? Right. And they realized they had to do something with Travis's legacy. And so, like, you know, a lot of other folks, you know, we've all served. When somebody, you know, dies in combat, a lot of times family starts a little memorial foundation. They end up getting a little bit of seed money, then end up getting a little bit more than they anticipated. And so they launched a grant making arm and started paying out things. So even like the Mission Continues, Team Rubicon, a couple of the other folks in this empowerment space that were in the VSO industry, this organization gave grants to them in the beginning. And then they started building their own programs eventually. As that groundswell started to build. And then, you know, we used to do transition programs for veterans, a lot of different things until it evolved, until we really keyed in on this character thing. And it all happened when Ryan Manion, Travis's sister, was speaking at his alma mater to these kids about his character. And she was like, oh, like that's a light bulb moment. Like, this is it. Like, let's connect and inspire that next generation, you know, of leaders. Because, you know, I don't know about y'all, but I didn't have great role models growing up. My NCOs were some of the first people who actually looked after me. Really did in terms of leaders. And so, you know, what I love about the work we do is just one of our programs, our Characters Matter program. You know, we get to connect veterans with youth. Came over to ODU, you know, last year, and that's one of the first times I met Justin. We ran a training there. You know, we could take folks straight from, you know, getting out of the military and like wandering, looking for that sense of purpose. You know, like what am I going to do? Like, I remember when I transitioned, when I was in that 2-year period where I was really weird, like I was going to school full time. I was on the honor roll. I was working 2 jobs. You know, I was teaching kids how to swim with autism and coaching CrossFit And like my brother-in-law back in the day, he looked at me, he was like, dude, like you're working like 18 hours a day, and like, but the lights aren't on, right? Like nobody's home. You're just in go mode. And what I realized, I just lacked a sense of purpose. And so he pulled me into like wrestling and coaching wrestling, because I was a wrestler in high school. And all of a sudden I had these kids to lead again, right? And I was like shaping young men, just like I was when I was bringing boots, out of the training cycle. And it gave me that sense of purpose, and that's what I think our program really does provide is that opportunity to feel that sense of purpose again and to lead.
That's awesome. That's
like
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
I did their 5K up in Philadelphia last year, and I was really sad I didn't get to do it this year because I did it for 9/11, and she'll actually be on next week, but my stepmother was actually one of the survivors of 9/11. She was in one of the towers. So she'll be on next week, but 9/11 is such a big thing for me, and seeing the Travis Manion Foundation at that event meant a lot to me. And I'm not in a position where I can like give back fully, just because I'm a full-time student as well. I work full-time. Now I'm doing this pretty much like a second gig. It's a lot going on. I'm already spread very, very thin, but I've loved your organization. I was so excited to hear that you were going to be coming on. I was like, ooh, we get to talk about this. So
yeah, you had all your swag out already and everything.
Yeah, you just want to show off your hat. Like that's what it was about.
Yeah, I honestly wear that all the time too. That's like my dirty, grungy, I'm working out, I'm going kayaking, I'm going hiking. That's the hat I wear for all of it.
Yeah, well, and the event you went through is our 9/11 Heroes Run. And I love that event so much, right? Because we were joking around in the green room, and we're like, "Oh, I don't run. Like, why would I go to that?" But like, it's not just a 5K. It's a community event, all right? And like that's what I love about it, because like, how many of you guys have sat through moments of silences and all those things, right? Like, let us pray, shit hits the deck, chaplain tells you what to do, but like, how many of you really felt like that like helped you move forward? I'm not saying anything against them, but like, grieving is one part of the process, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Putting yourself into action is the next part of it. And so just like the person you're talking about that joining you for that run, we've had 9/11 tower survivors like say about our event that like this was the first really positive event around it, right? Because I think so often in our culture we think that we just have to be somber about anything that's tragic. And we do, but like the veteran community, if there's anything that we're good at, it's making light of any terrible situation.
Fact.
And I think
that's true.
I think that's what that day represents. We get veterans, civilians, families of fallen heroes together. We do a great opening ceremony wherever we're at, where we honor all those folks, especially those families of the fallen, right? Because as soon as some of those people lose their service member, they lose that connection to our community. And like people always ask, like, what's your favorite part about working in this foundation? Because we are a VSO, but we also serve the family of the fallen and through our expedition programs. And we do a lot. We do expedition programs that are service-based, where folks get the opportunity to go and serve. Folks like you, Meg, you're super busy. Like, what can I do in a day-to-day? And if you get involved in our network and you're doing some things as a veteran, then we have this leadership development pipeline where folks can do those things on the veteran side. But for the survivors, sometimes that's their first entrance into our community. And it allows them to go out and see what the value of service is, and how that can put purpose and legacy to those fallen heroes' loss and sacrifice, as opposed to those people just, or some of those folks just sitting there and kind of dwelling on that, realizing, oh, wait, here's this whole community of people who are also honoring their loved ones who have fallen, and just right alongside the veterans themselves. I mean, and it's crazy how small the military community gets. I was doing a Characters Matter presentation to the National Military Family Association and ended up connecting with the sister-in-law of one of the Marines that I served with who died, like Joe Caskey, one of the guys who's a star on my chest for 14 guys lost in Afghanistan.
Wow.
And like I delivered Characters Matter to his nephews.
Wow.
And that's like the power of this community, is that, all of those losses that I sustained, when we were in Afghanistan, and like all the folks that I knew who passed, like for the years after I got back home, I didn't know what to do with it. I drank, I did everything. I had a drug problem. You know, even though I was like on an upward trajectory, I was going to school, doing all that stuff, had a good career. Like my life was terrible because I didn't know what to do with it. Like I took that legacy and I made it a burden on my shoulders as opposed to something I could inject real honor into. And that's what I love about my work. That's what I love about giving folks the opportunity to step up and do that. Because even if you don't know somebody personally who you loved and or served with who fell, like you can pick that gauntlet up and help somebody else serve, right? Because even if folks are watching tonight and you're not a veteran, you're not family of the fallen, if you're an inspired civilian, like that's it. You know, like I love all of the organizations that came before us, right? Like I loved my American Legion post when I was in Chicago. You know, I love all the benefits that I have. You know, I'm so grateful for everything. But I think it's awesome that we get to stand on the shoulders of the giants that came before us as veterans, and especially as an organization like mine, because like people's benefits are taken care of, right? Education, SVA, crushing it in that game. You know, but like we just give that opportunity to find those things. And to your point, Meg, like people are so busy. Like you're incredibly busy, especially in that transition period. So you may not be able to say, oh, I'm going to go and conquer the world doing this or that. But like when it comes down to it, you know, you can take a day aside to do a 9/11 Heroes run, right? Or you can come out like upcoming next month is the big kickoff of one of our 2 times a year we do Operation Legacy, where we unite people in the community around service projects in the name of fallen heroes. You know, and that just holds incredible value because we'll have everything from little kids, you know, read about a fallen hero in a class and get inspired, find us and do it, to folks going out and directly leading projects in the names of their loved ones. But each April and November, like we do this larger campaign, but they go through all throughout the year, where these service projects are hosted throughout the country. We usually have like 50 or 60 like each time we run our campaign on these, and it gives folks that opportunity to like stop, pause, and take a day to remember our fallen. And I think that that's just an immensely valuable thing to be able to do that, and also just put your hands to work, right? Meg, you were making fun of me in the green room about having soft hands because I was an intel dude. But like, trust me, my hands get plenty rough. I used to work in landscaping, and that's what I love, right? Because when I think about my guys who I loved, who I served with, who I was in the dirt with, right? Like just getting dirty and grimy. Yeah. Like, I don't want to have a moment of silence. Like, yeah, I appreciate that. And for other people, that's their thing. I'm not knocking it. But like, I want a shovel in my hand. I want to go to work, right? Because I was working to make the world a better place with them, or at least that's what we said. And that's what I want to continue to do to honor their legacy, is try to make my community a better place. And that's ultimately what we do. Now I got my soapbox. You can keep asking questions though.
That's awesome.
No, dude, no,
stay on it, bro.
No, yeah, seriously, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, it's just to get out there and, you know, you talk about connecting and the moments of silences. That was something that was always bothered me, in the sense that I'm like, okay, we're just standing here and we're not saying anything. And it was like, are we just pulling a curtain over what happened and just not talking about it? And then it always drove me nuts when you did have those few that were like trying to make light of it, because that's, I guess, as veterans, that's how we heal, you know, because especially when we're out there, when we're on deployments and stuff, and whether you're on ship or land or whatever, it's not fucking easy. I don't care. When you're deployed, it's just not easy. It's not. You're ripped away from your families. You're missing every fucking event known to man. You know, I'm the oldest of 5. I've missed all my brothers and sisters' high school graduations. I've missed weddings, and just more holidays than I can count. So to sit there in that moment of silence was always something that really got to me, because I'm like, okay, this isn't doing anything. This is actually making it worse, and I don't want to be here right now.
Yeah. Well, one's fine, right? But let's not do 20 years of moments of silence and say never forget, right? Well, never stop serving. That's my thing, right? And that's ultimately what I love about this organization, because before, like I said, I was working in social work, I was working all that stuff. Psychology is absolutely necessary. I've got a Rolodex of therapists that have rebuilt this brain, and without them, I wouldn't be anything in life, right? But at the end of the day, what it always ended up being, anytime I went back to therapy or whatever it was like, okay, well now I graduated, what's next? Sorry,
that's great.
That's good.
I mean,
it's probably mine.
And so for me, it's what are you gonna do about it, right? The guys who and gals who I serve with, we all challenge each other every day to be better, and that's what I love about the evidence base that we use with this. Because one of the other things we also do is our Leading with Your Strengths seminars, because our whole organization is built on this evidence rock of positive psychology. So the idea is like, there's these mad genius level folks, right? Way smarter than everybody in here combined. And I'm Intel, so like I'm padding the stats, right? And like this guy, Martin Seligman, he used to be the president of the American Psychological Association. And he was even practicing psychology. He's like, you know what? Like, why is everyone talking in the negative? Like, let's look at the positive. And so they figured out this way to assess people's individual character traits. And so what we are able to do through that is leverage some of those resources to teach people about like, what are your character strengths, right? So some of my character strengths: zest, teamwork, kindness, love of learning, curiosity, right? Like, so just from what you hear about those things, you can kind of get the definitions, but there's unique and specific definitions to the science. But zest, you know, it's really cool. Every ADHD screener I've ever taken in my life pops like through the roof, 100%, like not even a joke, right? But I thrived in the Intel environment, but I sucked in K through 12. I was a solid C student all the way through high school. Guess what? I graduated in the top of my Intel class. Top 3, 96.5% grade average in Intel school. You know why? Because my sergeant from Louisiana was like, all right, Desmond, you gonna get out of that bed now, honey. We gonna go pay tea, right? At 5 a.m. every morning. And somebody made me get out of bed and PT every single morning. And then if you go back on my K through 12 and you see me in high school, my grades went like whoop anytime I was in sports. And people can say, oh, it's about eligibility. It wasn't. I could focus in class because my ass was dog tired when my coaches made me run for an hour before class. You know, so the military helped me learn some of these things that most of these kids aren't getting. You know, and so with positive psychology, I walk into rooms and I talk to kids through our character leadership courses and our Characters Matter program, where they might have zest in their top 3. And in fact, I was in one class where I was talking to the teacher. I was like, all right, are there learning disabilities? You know, anything else I should be aware of to be working with these students to connect with them better? I'm like, all right, well, three out of 4 of the students that we have on that track are all ADHD. And guess what? All 3 of them had zest in their top 3. Put them in leadership positions in the classroom, had none of the problems that they had any other time that they're in the class. We were doing experiential learning, hands-on activities. They're in leadership positions, engaging them. And you know why? Because I was in that seat. I'm not some like master's trained like teacher or any of this stuff. I'm a dude from Chicago who went to the Marine Corps, got a couple degrees about veteran transition and like public health or whatever. But I can connect with these kids because I've been in their shoes. And I've been armed with this positive psychology to recognize what people see as their deficits, right? You can't sit still. Well, don't put them in a chair. Move them around the classroom. Get them out there. You know, my whole job, you guys are asking me what I do. There's days where I've woken up at 4 a.m., driven down to Virginia Beach, delivered one 90-minute seminar on positive psychology and how to lead with your strengths in transition, and then drove my butt back home. And everyone in the room looks at me and they're like, what? And I'm like, this is what I love to do. Like, you gave me a room at 90 people to talk to. Like, that's easy. Like, that, my attention span's going nuts. I can read every single table. I can see facial expressions. I can do all those things because why? I'm literally leveraging my strengths. I'm not looking at it as a deficit, you know, and I'm moving all around. But give me 4 states to operate in. That's great. Remote operations. People are talking about COVID. I used to run like 14 Marines off 3 ships with distributed operations doing theater cooperation exercises. Like ADHD is made for distributed operations. You know, it's made for people work. But if you look at it as a deficit base, you know, if you look at it as a deficit base, you're like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. I read a stat recently where a kid with ADHD receives 20,000 more negative messages by the time they reach 14 than a regular child, right?
That's insane.
So, you know, that's insane. And so think about what that does to self-image. Look at what the kids' mental health.
It destroys it. It completely destroys
them, right? Yeah. Like you're a dad, right? Like tell me Papa Bear doesn't come out as soon as somebody says something negative about your kid. Like, look at my son. Like, that's my kid on a Wednesday, right? Getting full costume Captain America because,
right?
Like, and he's brilliant. Like he hasn't even stepped a foot into school yet, and he can already meet most of the competencies for first grade. You know, and so what I think about it is we give this opportunity for people to step back in and to continue. And like we said, it's not just a tagline. It's not just marketing. Inspiring the next generation of leaders is a huge responsibility, you know, because who is going to fill our shoes? Who's going to fill our boots?
That's one of the truest statements you could have said, is because really, if we do not set up this next generation, you know, there was something that was taught to me when I was in the Navy. You know, like I've said, and Michael, I don't know how much you've watched, but you know, I was a master in arms as an MP, and I was put into leadership positions, and I had senior leadership. To me, was always set the junior kids up to take your job.
Yep.
Set them up, give them the tools to take your job. And I was just explaining to someone the other day was when I would check into a new command, when I had an LPO ask me, what are your goals here? I looked him dead in the eyes. He was an E6, I was an E5. I said, I'm going to have your job before I leave.
Yep.
And that's what you have to do is you have to set up this next generation, especially this generation now. The generation that's coming up, I think they need it more than anyone.
Every generation needs it more than ever, right? Like, and that's one of the things.
Well, I say that with just the advances in technology and
no, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, we always progress. Like you're saying, like technology is always changing, right?
Absolutely.
60 years ago, it was TV. My grandfather used to make fun of me, yelled at me all the time, "Get away from that boob tube," right? Because he thought it rotted your mind.
Yeah.
It kind of does, right? You know, but like even my mom used to ban video games in the household, right? But trust me,
Grand Theft Auto.
She wasn't gonna keep me away from them. I played I played WoW to like toxic levels in high school. I played like 126 hours a week from my freshman to sophomore year of high school when it first came out. Like I lived on corn dogs and an internet connection. Like
and you guys are making fun of me for Minecraft. So fuck all of y'all.
Well, yeah, but he's admitted he was a teenager.
We're talking about what you did Saturday.
Yeah, you're grown.
I did that right before the show.
I have a question. What is the connection with SBA? So tell me. I'm on the outside looking at. I'm not SBA. Yeah. I'm nowhere near ODU.
He's Richard.
I'm down here in the South, where we talk like this on a good day.
That's fine.
Yeah, tell me what the connection is here, because we like Justin, but we don't normally, we don't bring him out very often.
We did stop giving him an intro, so
that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, honestly.
So what's the connection?
No, so I mean, he kind of alluded. Michael alluded to it earlier, where we were able to connect, and he was able to come on and provide training to myself and my vice president at the time, Hunter Knight, which we were, we were the two leads of the guys. I was just starting being a president, and there was multiple people also at that training as well. We held it on campus. We were the host campus, and we had people. I even had a past president that I had never even met before in my class. We had a guy from director come down from VCU, and it was a really great program, and being like, and as an SVA guy, you're already you got this whole gung-ho mentality, like you want to, help veterans, you want to, make them succeed and make that transition, for us, at least to the classroom, easy, and want to make them succeed, because like a lot of us veterans end up having like this, imposter syndrome, and like, they're like, we're at a place we don't feel like we belong in a college campus, when in reality, if you realize like how valuable you are, and realize like your strengths, like leading with your strengths, and realize that what your next mission is, and make that next mission your college, you kick the shit out of college. We on average graduate with higher GPAs than anyone else, in more difficult fields than anyone else. Yes. And it's all about realizing your worth. And so as I was going into this, I was like, okay, cool. Travis Manion Foundation. This is awesome. They get our ideals align, with each other, and and obviously they partner with each other on a national level. So there's that too, but I was blown away. Like Michael had, he was already motivating the shit out of me today, and I was having fucking flashbacks, having like motivational PTSD up in here. But and like as a guy who, already is like, nerds the fuck out on veteran advocacy, like then you see a guy with an organization behind them, that just turns that shit up to 11, and you're like, fuck, we suck at what we think we're doing. We have this, agenda and this plan, and, like, oh, hell yeah, we're going to make a change and make a difference. And it really took a turn. It made me and Hunter and my team, when I took all the things that we learned back to my executive board, like really rethink. It was like, okay, hey, the events that we're doing, we need to include a broader audience. We need to have a stronger mission in life, and I mean, I want to say, I'll go ahead and give Michael and Travis Manion the credit, where it kind of helped us and it propelled us to getting top 5 in the nation this past year. of over 1,500 chapters nationwide, ODU is one of the top 5. We lost to Colorado State. Give them respect. I don't like them. I love them to death, I guess. Whatever. I really don't like Colorado State. Anyway,
that's where I'm going.
Yeah, no, they're cool. I mean, they got their shit together too. But like, without having like, because SVA, our national level, our national headquarters team, Jared Lyons, Will Hubbard, Lauren Augustine, all the way down, they motivate the shit out of you. They're knowledgeable and they do a great job. But when you really need to run an effective chapter and be effective leaders in those chapters, you need to lean on organizations like Travis Manion Foundation, Travis Mills, Wounded Warrior. You need to lean on these other exterior foundations that already partner with the SVA just to give you more knowledge and more, just insight in what it is to be a leader, and I mean, that's really my soapbox. And that's kind of how we kind of come together. I mean, we're already got plans, to add a couple more trainings, for this year, like we did in the past, but also take that shit to the next level, like Michael was talking about, and not, okay, yeah, cool, we're giving a training. That's awesome. But let's get into the community. Let's do things, right now, COVID's kind of got that in a bind. Luckily, what my replacement, the person I'm hopefully will take over my job next year when I graduate, Catherine Martinez, she already works for Travis Manion, so that's perfect, and she already has that slew of those resources, and we're hoping to do some really great community service projects, hopefully in the spring when COVID lets us do it, in the Norfolk community, and I think it's gonna be a great thing, definitely.
So I have a funny story. When I first got out, you were talking about, veterans when they go to college for the first time. So I had this fucking idea that I was going to become a teacher. So I was going to do yes.
Never too late, bud.
So I was going to do the
I can see that.
I was going to do the troops.
Could not.
I was going to do the Troops to Teachers program, and I was going to Eastern Connecticut State University. So I joined the Navy 18 years old, just Michael, just like you. Like I did the DEP program. Like my parents signed me in. Like I was ready to fucking go. My grandfather was a World War II vet. I wanted to follow in his footsteps, and I joined pre 9/11. So I actually joined about just over a year, and actually it was September 5th of 2000, a year and 6 days.
You're old.
So 15 years later, I'm like, oh look, I'm gonna fucking go to college for the first time. This is gonna be great. Blah blah blah. So I think I did what every vet does. Went to my class, sat in the back corner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just sat there. I was going to mind my own business, put my bag down, grab out a notebook, grab out a pencil, and I'm sitting there jotting shit down that I have to do for the rest of the day. I have like an 8 a.m. class. I'm like, okay, just try to remember shit. These 2 kids walk in, they sit down, and then this girl walks in, and her boyfriend, who I later found out was her boyfriend, but he walks in behind her and they're like looking around the room and the professor's not there yet. So I'm sitting there writing in this notebook and this kid comes up to me and goes, "Excuse me, professor." And I'm just fucking sitting there writing. And he like hits the desk. He goes, "Professor?" I was like, "What?" He goes, "Are you the professor?" I said, "You ever have a fucking desk thrown at you?" And he was like, "What?" I was like, "I'm a fucking student. Get the fuck away from me." Right then, right at that moment, I went, I got to go see a fucking doctor because I'm going to throw this kid out the window. That was actually the day that actually clicked in my head. I was like, I have to go get fucking help.
Yeah.
So there's a funny story behind it, but it was literally the day I actually wound up leaving the class 5 minutes early. I drove straight to the VA. I drove straight to the VA in West Haven, Connecticut, and I was like, I need to speak to someone because I got fucking angry over a simple mistake. Simple mistake because I'm 20 years older than these kids in the first place. He had every right to assume that I could have been a professor for that classroom. But yeah.
Well, and that's really where, one of the things I talked about back when I was in that moral injury work is this cultural divide, right? And big shout out. So like you were saying, just about the SVA and all the partnerships, it takes a village, right, to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a veteran. All right. We need WWP. We need Mission Continues. We need Team Rubicon. We need everybody in the space. And like, that's what I love about my organization is like, we don't compete, we complement, right? We partner, we cooperate.
That's awesome.
Because when I think about myself as a young veteran, like I'm a Woodward Warrior Project alumni, dude. Like if it wasn't for like that organization, Road Home program is where I went to therapy. If you're a Chicago veteran and you're looking for great outpatient therapy services, like really recommend it. It's part of the Woodward Care Network, part of a larger network of outpatient service providers. Hugely valuable. But to Billy, like to your points, right? Like I remember my sociology professor at my first school, which was Joliet Junior College, and he was actually talking about all the great veterans on campus, right? And he was talking about a student veteran organization there, which I don't think was actually an SBA chapter. And I remember, like, you know, because I was this dude who came off. I was the guy who wanted to think he was like a cool infantry dude. I had the Ray-Bans, I had the haircut that was like a low medium rag. You know, like I was like West Coast SoCal Marine, like out. And so I thought I was better than everybody because I had, you know, Iraq, Afghanistan, this and that and other. And when I walked in and like the first meeting I tried to go to and hang out with a lot of those folks, like the first dude who was like, yeah, I got dropped from SEALs. You know, I was in Buds, and I was just like, all right, I'm done. Like, I'm not hanging out with these guys at all. And so here's the sociology professor who's talking to the class, like, oh yeah, like blah blah blah. We got these great veterans campus. Oh, and actually, Mr. Desmond here is a veteran. Like, maybe you could say, like, I'm not hanging out with those dudes. Like, a bunch of malingerers and wannabes. Like, I ain't hanging out with that. And he's like, you need Jesus. And I just laughed, dude. I just laughed, right? But I thought like he didn't know. And to your points, right? Like we judge each other, right? Like why? Like whoever that person was who was trying to tell me that he fell out of Buds, like that was just a dude trying to feel relevant, you know? And instead of like punking him out or ignoring him, like I should have been digging deeper and figuring out like why does this person feel like he's got to try and like flex on anything right now, you know? Yeah. And like that's the biggest thing I've learned through my transition. Yeah, is that like every veteran deserves an ear. You know, every veteran deserves the opportunity to find that next step, that next mission, that next whatever it is.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and they got to be able to leverage those things because ultimately what it comes down to, because I used to punk on National Guards people. I remember a cousin called me out once because I was like, oh, the reservist National Guardsman, because you know how it is in active duty culture. All we do is just tear each other apart. And he tried to punk me. I was like, oh, some of my folks from the National Guard have done this, that, and another. I was just like, cool, you know. But like now I look back on it and I think about when I sailed into Pearl Harbor. And it was a week before the anniversary. And like I was in Chuck's, you know, parade rest, man on the rails, and I just wept as we pulled in that harbor because I realized it was like 70 years earlier on the wrong morning, I would be at the bottom of that sucker, you know? And what it made me realize when I was manning the rails going into Pearl Harbor is like there was some dude or gal down in the mess decks of those ships, never seen combat, maybe 2 days out of basic, that went down and sacrificed themselves for our country. You know, and I think that that's what's so valuable about this community is that when you step in a uniform, you put a target on your back, you know, because America's got a target on its back. And that should be honored always, you know, and I think that that's why I appreciate you, Billy, sharing that, because I think a lot of veterans got to take off that armor, that tough guy, that tough gal mentality. I'm better than you, this, that, and another. And we all got to set all that stuff aside and just come together in a community.
Yeah, right? It was actually, it really was an awakening moment for me. We wound up having this big research project we had to do for that class, and I actually wound up going back and pairing up with that kid, and we wound up working on that project together, and we wound up killing it, just totally fucking destroying that project. So it was actually a good, it was a good experience. There's a little comedy behind it, you know, but I hate that I almost stereotyped what PTSD is, you know. It's like, you know, because I come from a family, like the only person who's been in the military is my grandfather, and he served in World War II, and that's it. Besides that, my family has zero knowledge of what it's like to be around a fucking service member. We don't have friends that are service members. We don't have any other family that are service members. So when I come home from a deployment, you know, when I did my first ground tour and I come home after 9 months and I went straight home to my family's house because I had those, you know, 2 weeks off. I took 2 weeks of leave, and my mother's like, "Why are you laying in bed all day?" I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything.
I'm tired.
And, yeah, like, and you just like, I'm not motivated to get up. Like, I don't want to go up to the cabin in Vermont. I don't want to fucking have a family cookout, you know? Like I told my mother, she was like, oh, well, we're going to have the whole family over and we're going to have a big cookout. And I was like, no, you're not. Like, I don't want them here. Like, I just don't want it, you know? And then I have little cousins who always ask that one, you know, and I'm going to say this, the one question you never ask of a combat vet. Right, Michael, you made that face. Justin, you know,
yeah.
My little cut. Did you ever kill anyone? And that I was just like, I'm going back to the base. I literally packed my bag up and I left. And my mother's like, what's wrong? I was like, I don't have the time to sit here and explain it to you, you know. And I'm proud of our generation of service members for finally having the ability to not just suck it up and deal with it and actually be able to talk to each other about it, talk to other individuals about it, and get out there and actually go through a healing process and not feel judged for doing it. Because, you know, you have like the Vietnam vets and, you know, the World War II guys, Korean War vets and stuff like that. They wouldn't be doing this shit. Are you kidding me? It wouldn't be happening.
They don't want to talk about it.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I think go ahead, Meg.
Oh, okay. So I find that whole statistic of veterans doing better in college, I don't know how accurate that is, but I got kicked out of my university twice, and they took me back a third time. So the first time I went between 14 and 19 years old, and then I tried going back like at 20 years old and just blew it off again. I know, it's really bad. And then I finally went back, and I feel like I don't like telling people that I'm a veteran. Also, I look very young. Most people think that I'm like 21, 22 years old when they first meet me. They're like, you look very young. So even a lot of the students in my classes, I'm taking a class called Social Problems right now. I don't want to tell people that I'm a veteran because they're going to be like, oh, what is your take on this social problem? And I'm going to be like, well, y'all are pussies, first off. So man the fuck up and grow a sack. Like, I don't have enough time for this shit. So, but I don't like telling people that I'm a veteran in my college because I don't want to have to talk to these people. I don't want to have to associate with these young children, not really children, but these young adults. And I mean, I was approached one time at the university or at the college, and this one kid kept coming up to me, and would keep being like, hey, how's it going? And for like 4 days straight would come up to me, and I'm trying not to be rude, but I'm sitting there on my phone like, what? Like, what do you want? And this kid kept coming up to me, and it was almost like that whole PTSD thing where it's like you want to be isolated, you don't want to have to deal with anyone around you. And eventually he got the idea, and he was like, okay, I won't mess with this girl anymore. But I feel like depending on where you are, New Jersey is not a very like veteran friendly state. It's not a very military friendly state. I feel like this area, there's not a whole lot of people, especially younger generations of people that are veterans. Like, I'll go and I'll park in the veteran spot at Lowe's, and people just give me the dirtiest looks. And I'm like, either it's because I'm wearing booty shorts walking in here, or y'all just really hate female veterans. I don't know. It could be one or the other, or the fact that I'll like walk in with my dog and she's got her little emotional support animal vest on or whatever. And I'm like, please do not come up to me because I'm literally about to rip somebody's head off right now.
Well, you know, there's a few things that I picked up from that. You know, for one, you know, like you said, they may not even hate female veterans. They may not think you're a veteran. That's a huge problem, right? Point. You know, like you get out of that vehicle, they probably don't even think you're a veteran because the idea of a veteran is like a male, right?
Yeah.
But on top of that, like
Billy, that's what veteran would be in their eyes.
Yeah. Well, and you know, Billy brought up some great points about, you know, that culture divide. When I first got diagnosed, when I got out of the military, before I got the PTSD diagnosis, I got adjustment disorder. I had high functioning adjustment disorder. And
that was in mine too. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And
I had that while in.
Yeah. Right. But you know what's funny is so like I said, I'm a huge nerd. I'm an intel dude. My whole job, like what I love more than anything, is that I got to take as much information as possible and either help me take out bad dudes or save good guys, right? Like we had the highest IED find rate in Afghanistan operational history when I was with my unit, and I led our counter IED working group. And I took immense pride because I helped make sure that as many of our guys came home as possible.
Welcome back.
And didn't get hurt, right? But so when we're talking about Afghanistan, I was so interested in what is the experience of people who like are refugees from war, that I ended up taking this medical anthropology course when I was at DePaul University. And the guy who taught it was actually a dude who was the first person to teach a breastfeeding course at Northwestern Feinberg School of Medicine, which is a top 10 medical university in the country, right?
Yeah.
And so he was the one that had to teach the benefits and the cultural elements of breastfeeding to the doctors there because of how unique and weird our kind of culture is in this flux and time of change, right? And so I was so enamored and in love with the concept of anthropology, right? Because it's a study of culture. And what is veteran culture? What is military culture? What is this? And when I was thinking about like, what is a group, right, who has experienced the same conflict as us, right? If you look at the women and children of Iraq and Afghanistan, they suffered the same conflict, very different traumas, different things like that. And what I found when I looked into and did my research on it is that women and children who settled into diasporous communities that were most like theirs, that had their culture most intact, their PTSD, depression rates, all of those things were like 75% less than those who didn't, right? And so when people ask me, like, well, why do you work in this field? I'm like, because I want to build a landing spot for veterans. But what I don't want to do is make a place where they're comfortable to just hang around other veterans. It's great to do that when you're first transitioning, but if you're 5 years out from transition and the only people you're friends with are veterans, you haven't transitioned yet. You're still transitioning. And it can help you be resilient, but eventually, just like a lot of people say, like, oh, if you come to this country, you have to culture, like eventually you do. But that should be a slow process, right? If you say, learn English now, do different things like this, and I'm not getting political on this one, this is a culture thing, it makes it harder for those people to fit in. Like they can measure it with allosteric load, with stress levels, with different things when people are forced into a culture because it's psychologically weathering, right? Like, and Meg, you brought it up. Like you spoke about your trauma this past weekend and you had to like take a whole like couple days to recover from it. Imagine feeling like different than everybody else every single day. And so this was just women from Afghanistan immigrating to America experiencing the same things and the mental health rates being dramatically lower. So I was like, if this is happening to these people in the same conflict zones that we go and serve and democratize and free and all these things, it's got to be relative to veterans, right? Like veterans need to have that culture. They need SVAs to find them when they're in school. They need VFW posts to find them when they're in Podunk, Kansas, and there's no other place for veterans there. Yeah. They need the Wounded Warrior Project when they're landing in Landstuhl, Germany. Like we need to have this network where veterans can find the culture that's closest to them. So that way, when we can't find a therapist who can listen to us, we can all talk to one another and like relate and therapize with each other. And just like, right. And like, you know, to get back what I said about our Operation Legacy Service projects, ain't no party like a working party, right? You know, like we all hated going to working parties. But some of my best times in Afghanistan were now.
So now with that being said, how has the foundation mitigated through COVID-19, through the pandemic? How have you taken that mentality and that foundation and then applied it to, okay, cool, now everyone has to stay the fuck inside their house and wear a mask?
Yeah. No, honestly, one of the things I love about this organization, because we're built on this bedrock of resiliency, right? So the foundational principle we go on is meanings, relationships, engagement. So as long as you can find a sense of purpose and meaning and then engage in that, you'll build relationships that are natural. And so in a lot of ways, it's enabled us to get people connected into our programming who would traditionally have barriers to entry. And honestly, the COVID crisis has made me more optimistic about the future of our organization than pessimistic. Yeah, because it's opened up the virtual floodgates, right?
Yes, that's true.
After kids all get back to doing whatever they're going to do, because I used to have to be able to get a veteran into a classroom or into an after-school group. Right now, if Justin gets done with class and he's got to go back to his job or do whatever, if he's got an hour time frame in between those two, I can plug him into a Character Doesn't Matter opportunity where he's connected with youth, mentoring people and giving back into his community via an internet connection and the webcam. And that's what we've been able to do. You know, I was able to, you know, for an example, we have a relationship with the Cal Ripken Senior Foundation, if you're big baseball fans, it's huge. I honestly only ever watch.
That is very huge.
Yeah. I only ever watched baseball because I was, a White Sox fan, and, I love talking trash on Cubs fans, but like once I moved out of Chicago, I stopped watching baseball. But I love the relationship because every year we end up partnering with them for their camps. It's in like northeastern Maryland.
Amazing.
And so veterans have to like drive all the way to Northeast Maryland to this remote location to do all this. But it's amazing once you get there because you're connected with kids in the summer camp. All these kids are from different Boys and Girls Club sites from across the nation. Because Cal Ripken does an amazing job building all these programs and facilities, infrastructure for kids to be engaged in these areas. And we were able to actually partner with them. And they were already doing this Ripken Live experience. And so all of a sudden now, I went from having maybe 5, 6, 7 veterans be able to experience these camps in one summer to now we're an organization with 7 different regions across the country. I had like 4 or 5 different regions. We had like 8 mentors. So at one point, right in the heat of COVID, in the midst of summer, we had folks from Texas, Washington State, Maryland, veterans from all different places coming together, converging in this virtual realm to connect with youth from all over the place, right? And it gave people an opportunity to unplug from whatever else was going on in their lives and just connect with some kids and talk about character, talk about the future, talk about how you could be leaders. And, it's incredible. And so that's what we can do through our Characters Matter. We got folks doing great things in terms of service work. In Chicago, actually, it's not an SVA chapter. They're their own thing, Student Veteran Union from DePaul. They jumped on and helped our Chicago folks start a food distribution event. Back when I used to live there, I actually helped my friend because the Red Cross did a food pantry in the Jesse Brown VA every Tuesday of the month. Everybody knew it. I'm telling you, man, this thing was like clockwork every Tuesday of the month. And I used to go there and I'd volunteer. And we would just it was the most humbling experience, especially when we're talking about like the Vietnam veterans and everybody else. Like they didn't get out and do the things that we're doing right now because they were spat in the face of, right? Like they fought for all the opportunities that we have right now. And like I remember just like walking these folks through this pantry line, filling up their stuff. And when COVID hit, all of a sudden now this food pantry couldn't actually operate inside the hospital, right? Because we're not bringing people in for anything not essential. And potentially increasing the risk. So our Chicago TMF folks, our staff, were able to leverage the student veterans at DePaul University and a bunch of other coalition folks who banded together in the community and recreated the food distribution event outside of the VA at a church that was right nearby inside the medical district right there. So that way all the veterans who went there traditionally could still access that and then bridge the gap in a moment from what was happening before to then to ensure that food was still distributed, those veterans were still served, and that money and that food was getting out in the community. And so realistically, I could go on and on about different ways we've adapted from virtual 9/11 Heroes runs and all this kind of stuff. But Meg's already yawning at me, so I'll just wrap it up.
No, I've been awake since 4 a.m. I go to the gym at 5 a.m. every morning. So that's why I'm yawning. Plus I've been drinking. It's not you, I'm sorry.
No, but Michael, I mean, I want you back on the show. Very shortly to continue this conversation.
Also, I'd love you to meet you.
Yeah.
No, Michael, don't worry about that.
I have one question for you, Michael. Where are you actually?
I'm in my basement. No, I'm in Baltimore.
Okay, so you're in Baltimore. Are you coming next? Are you coming on Saturday?
I can't. So my son's high risk. COVID. So my wife's got me on a quick. Yeah, so it's a long story. I won't get into it, but I've been taking a lot more measures.
Your personal information.
Yeah. So you could ask like Justin, like if you call me on any other given day, like I'm showing up, like you know, because that's how it is. I love mobile ops. People make fun of me at my work because like we'll have staff calls and I join 90% of them from my car. And they're like, oh, Michael's going somewhere else because for me, like I'm an old style like salesman, right? Like if I'm gonna have a meeting with you, face to face. It's gotta be face to face, right? Because you know what? I learned in the Marine Corps, right? When my grunts needed maps, you couldn't just call up to MEF and be like, oh, can I get these maps? No. I'm gonna go up to MEF and I'm gonna sit next to the person who's responsible for that and make them feel really uncomfortable until I get my maps because I'm not letting my grunts go across the line of departure unless they have exactly what they need to do the job. You know, and so when it comes to serving veterans in the community, guess what? You got to get your ass in the community.
Well, Michael, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And like I said, we definitely want to have you back. Justin, again, thank you for these.
But
awesome-
also, I got one little bit. I'm going to interrupt you, Billy.
No, go ahead.
But however, to kind of answer the question, I got to get with Gene Nagy, which is out. Is it Nagy or Nagy? I can't remember.
Nagy, yeah.
Nagy. Okay, cool. So he actually is he's a member of the Hampton Roads chapter committee for TMF. So right now we're in communication with him, and he will be there hopefully on
okay,
the 10th.
good.
So
Yeah, and we got cups in, so we're gonna have cool cups for our beer.
And if I can say one thing,
I know it's my thing.
if any veteran out there, regardless of where you're at, look me up on LinkedIn. Michael James Desmond, connect with me. I've said this whenever I do a leading with your strengths presentation. If you ever want advice on anything in the transition space, I'm happy to talk about it. Right? Because I've done everything from pro bono consulting to other veteran startups getting off the ground and being like, oh, what should I do? Or if you're a veteran thinking about even getting into the VSO community, like, let me save you some time and make sure you're prepared to walk into this stuff because it's crazy. Like I'm a veteran for veterans, right? Like this is the team I'm rocking, but at the end of the day, like I was talking about you guys in the green room, I'm a non-commissioned officer until I die. I'm a Marine sergeant through and through. I'll never put that down. That blood stripe runs down my leg. And so when it comes to taking care of troops, that's all I want to do. So if you're a veteran out there and if I can help you in any way, feel free to reach out, connect with me, and I'm happy to help you, man.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it.
Thank
And
you.
Justin, thank you so much. And we will definitely
Absolutely.
we will reconnect with you guys very soon. Y'all have a good night.
Awesome.
Okay.
So you guys.
Guys. I feel like such a dick for yawning, but like I'm not
No,
that tired.
He called you out on it, so you're totally fine. If he
Yeah,
didn't
it's
call
even
you out, it'd be
better.
different.
That was
Yeah.
good. I was like, oh shit, now I really gotta apologize. I felt bad. I was like, oh fuck, you could see it.
So Meg, what do we got going on Thursdays? Is it your
Thursday. Okay.
Don't do that again. Don't. No,
Okay, okay. I'm just kidding.
Oh.
I will fucking delete your feed so fast.
I'm gonna learn the WAP song.
No,
WAP?
the
please don't.
fuck you're not.
I'm gonna learn that. It's gonna be the veteran version, so it's gonna be like small kick. Oh, my hip. Oh god. Okay, gotta get down on the ground. And then it's like roll. You have to roll over, and someone helps you up.
I'm bringing
I
will bring a paintball gun to the event on Saturday, and I will freeze the paintballs and shoot you with them if you fucking do that.
Sorry,
It'll
I'm not
probably
gonna
be
be
like
in Norfolk.
Friday night. It'll be Friday night when we're all like really drunk. But anyway, so Thursday we are going to be having my stepmom on. She is a survivor of 9/11. She was actually in one of the towers. I don't remember which tower it is, but she will explain it to us. Aside from being a survivor, she is also a mental health therapist. She is like one of the best ones in the state of New York, like in Long Island area. I can't say for the whole state, but she's really, really good. She specializes in trauma and PTSD. So that is right up her avenue. It's like her whole life.
It's gonna be interesting. I've never talked to anyone that was actually
really.
Well, not to the extent your stepmom was.
Yeah. So
That involved. I think it's gonna be a pretty interesting show. Rich, you in for Thursday? Are you in?
We'll see how my football. Plays
Yeah,
out.
I will say I actually asking her was the first time I've ever confronted her about being involved in that. I had never even asked her before. So in the past like 17 years that she's been in my life, I've not once asked her about that. And she and I are super close. And
just so everyone else that's watching, just go to our Facebook page, our Instagram page. Check out the link tree. We have the event this Saturday. We have 1 week left.
You better register on Eventbrite.
It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Just fucking register, show up, and have a good fucking time. Network with other vets. You might get a kick-ass job.
How many people are going to be there? That's all. Like it's just for that. Danique, you'll be there.
So
I'm going to be very sad.
I'm really sad. I'm going to miss this. This is like now Danique is a stunt double for Meg. I don't even.
Richard, why are you even on the show if you're not coming?
Oh, I'm sorry. I live 8.5 hours away. Sorry,
Meg,
I've got a life.
You're cut off from Bag of Wine.
Yeah, your Bladier and Frenzier.
Bladier Frenzier is no longer allowed. I'm telling you, Meg, you got to get the big fucking straws and just stick it in the side of the bag.
Yeah, why are you pouring
You know
so
what?
light?
You just got to
I
squeeze
do
it.
have really big straws, so I might get one.
Like you're playing a bagpipe and you straw up your mouth and squeeze.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awkward and awesome all within itself.
It's very cold right now. I do not
I
like
bet
it.
it is.
I'm very uncomfortable.
Then why are you still doing it?
All right, everyone.
Billy.
Yes.
Billy. We got a GoFundMe going.
Yes, we do have a GoFundMe going.
It's
and we're
close.
only $300 fucking short.
Wait, of what?
The 12 to waxing his eyebrows instead of just shaving them.
I really want.
We've got to get to
I
that.
might just donate it myself.
There's so much
I need to
pain
eat
that
more.
comes with waxing.
Oh,
I've
we
been
need.
told.
Oh, it needs to happen. It needs to happen. So go to our Facebook page. Go into the profile, our about section. The Linktree account's there. It lists all our social media and websites. It lists the GoFundMe, the Eventbrite, and there's some other pretty cool links on there. Go ahead and check them out. You can actually share that link to your pages, which I would appreciate very much if you did that. And we will see.
We don't have an OnlyFans, so don't stress clicking on our link tree.
Not as a podcast, but some of us might have individual pages. Anyway,
I don't know anything about that.
We will see you all Thursday night. Everyone, have a good night.
It's gonna be my face superimposed on like potatoes.
Y'all
That's
have
it.
fun this weekend.